Over the weekend, in addition to Full Gear, there was also a New Japan and Stardom's historic crossover event that took place in Tokyo at the Araki Arena with an announced attendance of 7,102, which for either group is a very good number in 2022 post-pandemic pro wrestling in the country. Did you get to see any of the show, Wei?
I did. I saw the Tom Lawler Shuri match, where they were teaming against Julia and Zack Sabre Jr. and also the main event.
Yeah, I saw like the last 6 matches, and we won't do like an extensive run through here, but just some of the highlights. Zack Sabre Jr. and Julia taking on Shuri and Tom Lawler. Of course, Shuri and Tom Lawler having the both competing in the UFC, and of course Zack Sabre Jr. and Julia from the UK with their lineage as well. And this was one where this was a match that Tom Lawler was very much looking forward to, and I thought just the combinations in this were so fun to watch, and the Zack and Lawler exchanges were just top level here, and it ended with a European clutch that was countered to a rear naked choke, and then Zack flipping over, reversing Lawler back to the European clutch and catching him in 10 minutes and 52 seconds. But these two together were, I thought, terrific.
I thought so too. Absolutely. I mean, it really became a great preview for Julia versus Shuri that's coming up at Dream Queendom, I believe.
Yes.
And then I thought like overall the match itself and the show itself for me was a wonderful sort of like introduction to some of the bigger names in Stardom and some of the current storylines in Stardom. But I was also incredibly impressed at how much Tom Lawler's charisma shone through in this sort of setting. His enthusiasm, I think, was completely infectious. You could tell that
he had the God's Eye logo on his jean trunks.
Yeah, I thought he did absolutely great, and clearly it was a real thrill for him. Even the post-match promos, especially like in some of these cases where I don't know how much not in this case, because I know Shuri probably speaks at least a little bit of English, but there are some of them where like I don't even know if like they really understand what the other person says, but everything sounds so natural, and I really like their post-match promo as well.
Then you had Natsupoi, Tam Nakano, Taichi, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating Doki, El Desperado, Momo Watanabe, and Starlight Kid. This got very heated. Desperado and Natsupoi, they had like this ongoing story in the mixed matches of that the rules had been set that it was only the males would take on the males, the females would take on the females. And in almost every match, it was almost like this statement that they would do like intergender spots and being like the women feel like they are being like protected here or something, and they went out of their way to have like spots between the men and the women in several of the matches. But Tam went for the Incredible Dream, couldn't hold on to it because she had been selling the arm, and then Momo Watanabe got the bat, but ends up taking the mist from Natsupoi. Taichi takes the pants off. There's super kicks by Taichi and Nakano, and then the Black Mephisto by Taichi pins Doki in 12 minutes. But this was a really fun match for the time that they had, and the crowd was into it quite a bit. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Utami Hayashita against Hiroki Goto and Maika. They went 9.5 minutes. Utami ended up pinning Maika after hitting the hijack bomb. I would say this one was a little bit below what I kind of anticipated when you looked at the people involved in this. Like, it was fine, but I wouldn't say it was one of the standout matches of the 6 that I saw. I mean, serviceable, but not in not at the end of the show that I think you were looking at this as one that over-delivered. Then we had Kazuchika Okada, Toru Yano, and Great Muta. In Muta, as they were promoting this, his last match in a New Japan ring, as this would be classified as, against Aaron Hanare, Jeff Cobb, and Great Okan. And we did get the Okan missing with the mist as he hit Cobb with the mist. So then Muta hit Great Okan, but not with the green mist. with the red mist, and they noted how bad this is. The red mist from Muta. So maybe Great O'Khan is going to have some kind of blindness coming out of this, or some kind of change to his character after hitting this. So that led to the closing sequence of Okada drop kicking Hanare, Muta with the Shining Wizard, and then Okada hits the Rainmaker to pin Hanare. So not giving Muta the pin. He got to do his mist and his Shining Wizard, and that's where New Japan put their foot down. That's what you get, Muta. So on his farewell tour, this is one of his. This is his countdown way. We have several more final farewell matches to go before February.
Sure.
Look at this 3-man unit. I mean, are these guys coming for the trios belts or what in AEW?
Death Triangle, watch out.
Then we had Will Ospreay against Shota Umino for the IWGP United States Championship. And I actually saw this because you had retweeted it, Wade. Did you want to explain Ospreay's outfit for this match?
Yeah, he came out dressed as Hayabusa and actually had
I think everyone just thought it was just, he's just doing a tribute for Hayabusa, and there was like quite the story behind it.
Yeah, he actually, mentioned that he asked Hayabusa's daughter for her blessing and took her out to lunch. And I believe they're helping auction the outfit for charity or for some sort of cause. So yeah, a wonderful story from a very influential wrestler for any sort of high flyer, and you can obviously see it, in so many people's wrestling style. Seth Rollins, of course, a guy who takes many of his moves, and Will Ospreay, you would assume. I guess you would assume that like every high flyer is influenced, but I guess like Ospreay in particular, I don't know if I've ever heard him speak about Hayabusa that much, but clearly a man who had huge impact on his style.
And you would probably assume he voted for Hayabusa in the Hall of Fame this year.
If he has a vote, do wrestlers get votes?
Yeah,
I guess every reader does.
Active wrestler. No, not readers. The ballots are sent out selectively.
Oh, okay.
But active wrestlers do. So if he does get a ballot, I would think he would be on Ospreay's. Well, it would depend on the numbers. I mean, it is a higher amount.
You vote for yourself?
You can vote for yourself. Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you from voting for yourself. I mean, that's how a regular election works.
True,
right. You can vote for yourself. So there was an interesting dynamic here because this is Shota Umino challenging for the U.S. title. This is a rematch from Royal Quest. And Red Shoes Umino is the referee. Red Shoes Uno. He's like his father is the referee here.
Now there's a conflict of interest right there.
Well, that's what they were bringing up here. And it was like, it really didn't play that much into parts of the match, but it was kind of like an odd decision when you're not doing like some big, but I mean, the announcers were trying to explain that, he's being a bit more emotional here because it's his son, and, Will Ospreay is being very brutal in the match. So, I mean, it was kind of an interesting addition. But this would never fly in a real sport. I don't think like this couldn't happen in MMA, could it?
I would suggest like the opponent would probably raise a bit of a issue with it, but I mean for wrestling it's great storytelling.
So you had playing off of Royal Quest, you had Ospreay delivering the strikes to the back of the head, but Umino survived. He ducked a hidden blade and landed a big pump up knee strike. Ospreay then countered a Death Rider. Stormbreaker is blocked, and we're just getting into all of the intense finishing sequences here. Elevated Death Rider, and then the follow-up gets blocked, and Ospreay hits the hidden blade to the front, and then one from behind for the Stormbreaker. And then I looked down at my time. I was like, this can't be right. There's no way this match was this long. But it was, in fact, 22 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm not kidding. I thought it was like 12 minutes or something. It felt like I couldn't believe that much time elapsed that I watched this, but it was a really, really enjoyable match. I wouldn't say it was like Ospreay's like upper echelon of matches this year, but that still is a lot of praise for the match. I would say this was probably Umino's best single showing overall, and a tough position because I don't think anyone bought Umino winning this, but Ospreay continues to elevate this U.S. title, and I think we are now gearing up for what is going to be the biggest match for that title, because as the United Empire is hoisting Will up in the air and Gideon Gray is proclaiming him the best, the lights go out, and then on the screen is Kenny Omega, who just cut the best promo in Japanese. I don't want to hear heel Kenny Omega ever speak English after this promo. This was the best. I watched this thing on Sunday morning, and I must have watched it like 3 more times during the day, of Kenny Omega stating that Will Ospreay was supposed to be his successor because once AEW formed, Kenny Omega didn't need New Japan. And what has Will done? The crowds have gone down. There's no cheering. What's the line you're using, Will? It's because of the pandemic. Well, Will, the only virus here is you. Then takes a shot at him and his auto translate pals, the United Empire. And he took the call from New Japan, and he didn't want to do it, but he couldn't give up this opportunity to come back for one night. And that is our match for the Tokyo Dome on January 4th. And I think that Chris Charlton summed it up best, that this feels like the main event for January 4th. I think this is going to overshadow Jay White and Kazuchika Okada, and I think this makes Wrestle Kingdom feel like a big deal now.
It makes it feel like Wrestle Kingdom again. For me, much of my disconnect with New Japan has been sort of like the stale roster, and it's sort of this sort of like special attraction outside participation that I feel like the promotion's really been lacking, especially for Wrestle Kingdom. And Japan has probably been the toughest place in the world to try to book a show like a Wrestle Kingdom to its standard, but clearly things are kind of lifting right now. And as soon as they announced that best of 7 with the Elite and Death Triangle, we saw that missing spot for January 4th where there won't be one of those matches. And I think we already began speculation about, in particular, Kenny Omega's participation. We got the announcement pretty much less than 24 hours later. It's a huge match. It's a match that might reinvigorate a lot of interest in New Japan Pro Wrestling if the rest of the card is strong. They made comparisons to Alpha versus Omega. I certainly feel like this has the potential of being that sort of big crossover match that might drag a lot of lapsed New Japan fans back in.
This is a very important match for New Japan to push for travelers, for New Japan World, and just domestically to sell tickets at the Tokyo Dome. Like, I feel if Wrestle Kingdom is a big success this year, this is the match that deserves, rightfully so, the credit. It does feel like the main event now. And, between those two matches, like, it does feel like a big show, as you mentioned once again. So that's great that they could pull it off.
Yeah, we're at this point, we're kind of talking about the addition of new names, of mainstream names, and Kenny's not the only one that was added to the show.
That's right. We will get to that. The main event was KAIRI and Mayu Iwatani to determine the IWGP Women's Champion, the first champion as the tournament winds down. And KAIRI ended up working this match with like a pretty severe sprained ankle that she posted a photo of afterwards. And I saw that photo first and then watched this match, and it was like, goddamn, you could not tell. And what she was doing, it was like she's doing missile drop kicks and stuff. And when you see this ankle, like, this looked insane that she worked through this match with this kind of an injury.
She also wrestled to a 30-minute draw the night prior.
This is insane. It was absolutely insane. They went 25 and a half minutes here, and just some of the highlights here. You had Mayu with a top rope Hurricane Rana, and then goes back up, landing a splash. KAIRI hit the high cross to the floor on the sprained ankle, and then we have a series of spinning back fists as Mayu just staggers on her feet and won't go down. Mayu finally then lands her shot and hits a tombstone and a dragon suplex, just dumping her on her head. KAIRI hits an elbow off the second turnbuckle, hits the insane elbow for a 2 count, and then a crucifix bomb by Mayu, dragon suplex for a 2 count, and finally it is KAIRI with the big comeback and a final insane elbow in 25-30 to take the championship, and will face Tam Nakano on January 4th on the show proper, which will be the first time we've got a women's match on the actual show of Wrestle Kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think KAIRI really is probably your perfect choice, for one of these. Like, essentially this IWGP Women's Championship, it kind of tells me that, like, she's sort of the transition unofficially between Stardom and New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's a championship that's I would assume would be defended on the in some of those New Japan US shows,
Mhm.
and has a role on a show like a Wrestle Kingdom. She is by far the biggest name in that company right now, and even within a New Japan roster, I would probably consider KAIRI to be one of the bigger crossover names. So I think her addition to Wrestle Kingdom, to me, adds a lot of excitement for Wrestle Kingdom. It's a huge match for Tam Nakano. Probably, I mean, by far, obviously the biggest stage that she'll be able to wrestle on. From the little promo I thought she cut in the ring, I mean, the confidence was full on. So I'm very excited to see her how she does on such a big stage.
Yeah, and as Wei mentioned, it's Shuri and Julia, December 29th. That's the Sumo Hall Dream Stardom's Dream Queendom show that will also have Kairi against Utami on that show as well. So some very big shows in a small amount of time, because sandwiched in between that show and January 4th is the Muta Nakamura match on January 1st. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on various Japanese products over, I would say, that month, because you extend it to Sting and Muta teaming up. Like there's quite a lot going on in Japan over the next couple of months. So I haven't seen the entire show, but what I saw, it was a very enjoyable show. They drew a very good crowd, and I would think that it's a concept that they will continue. It's, you've created this title, and I think there's other combinations to be had, but I really enjoyed the Zack and Tom Lawler stuff. There's a lot more that those two can draw from.
The pairings are just fun, and to me, like it's kind of surprising that it's taken this long for Bushiroad to be able to do something like this. I don't know what sort of red tape prevented them from doing this earlier, but it's a long time coming, and honestly, like it's probably the most excited I've been for a New Japan Pro Wrestling thing in quite some time. So I would say more than Stardom needing, well, Stardom certainly needs New Japan and their exposure, but I think New Japan needs Stardom too.